I'm Brenda, 32, standing in the middle of my childhood living room, surrounded by stunned faces and the deafening silence that followed my announcement. I felt a mix of anger, hurt, and a strange sense of liberation. I just told my family that I was done being their financial safety net, and the shock on their faces was almost comical. But this moment was far from a joke. It was the culmination of years of resentment and betrayal. Growing up in a small town in upstate New York, I always thought we were a close, knit family. My parents, Carl and Linda, owned a local diner. Carl was a jovial man, always quick with a joke, but also easily swayed by the sob stories of my siblings. Linda, on the other hand, was a bit more calculating, often using emotional manipulation to get what she wanted. I have an older brother, Jake, 36, who's always been the adventurous type. He's dabbled in every get-rich, quick scheme imaginable, from investing in a failed tech startup to opening a short-lived coffee roaster. And my younger sister, Lily, 29, is the artistic one. She's flitted from one creative pursuit to another, like painting, dance, and now photography, but has never managed to hold down a steady job. I, on the other hand, was the responsible one. I worked hard in school, got a degree in business, and landed a good job at a marketing firm. I climbed the corporate ladder, sacrificing my weekends and vacations to prove myself. Meanwhile, Jake and Lily were constantly coming to me for money. Jake would borrow thousands, promising to pay me back when his next big idea took off. And Lily would ask for help with rent, tuition, or art supplies, always saying it was just a temporary setback. My parents enabled their behavior. They'd say things like, "Jake just needs a break," or "Lily is so talented, she just needs more time to find her way." But with me, they expected me to be self-sufficient and always there to bail out my siblings. A couple of years ago, I met Tom at a business conference. He was smart, kind, and came from a family where everyone took responsibility for their own lives. We fell in love quickly, and after a year together, he proposed. I was over the moon and immediately wanted to share the news with my family at Christmas. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, despite my tight budget as we were saving for a house, I went all out on gifts. I got my parents' estate of the art espresso machine to replace their old one. For Jake, I found noise, canceling headphones to help him focus on his work. And for Lily, I splurged on a high-end camera so she could pursue her photography seriously. But things started to seem off. 2 weeks before Christmas, when I called my mom to coordinate my usual early arrival to help with preparations, she told me not to worry, that she and Dad had it covered. This was strange because for as long as I could remember, I'd been the one to help cook, clean, and decorate. The next day, when I called Jake to arrange our travel, he was evasive and Lily was equally vague about her plans. A week before Christmas, I stopped by my parents' house unannounced with some homemade cookies. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw my dad quickly closing the garage door. Through the crack, I saw several suitcases. When I asked him about it, he said they were organizing for a local charity drive. Inside, the house was spotless, which was unusual as my mom usually left the cleaning until the last minute. I also noticed some travel brochures hidden under a magazine on the coffee table. That evening, I mentioned these strange occurrences to Tom. He gently suggested that they might be planning something without me, but I dismissed the thought. I convinced myself that I was just being paranoid due to work stress. 3 days before Christmas, I received a group text from my mom reminding everyone about the Christmas Eve dinner, church service, and present opening the next morning. The message reassured me, and I thought everything would be normal. On Christmas Eve, Tom and I drove to my parents' house with our gifts and a bottle of champagne to celebrate our engagement. When we arrived, my family greeted us, but there was an underlying tension. During dinner, the conversation felt forced, and whenever I asked about their post-Christmas plans, they quickly changed the subject. After dinner, as we were getting ready to go to church, Lily realized she'd left her phone in the kitchen and asked me to get it. When I picked up the phone, a notification popped up. It was a group chat with my parents, Jake, Lily, and some other relatives. The preview said, "Flight confirmed for 10 a.m. on December 26th. Don't forget passports." My heart sank. I tried to convince myself that it was a misunderstanding, maybe a surprise for Tom and me. But when I saw more messages later, my worst fears were confirmed. They'd been planning a 10-day family vacation to the Caribbean for months, since July, in fact. And they'd used the money I'd lent them for various emergencies to pay for it. Jake's business equipment loan in September and Lily's rent assistance in October were all part of their scheme. On Christmas morning, when we opened presents, their reactions to my carefully chosen gifts were lackluster. And when Tom and I announced our engagement, their responses were muted. There were no excited questions about our wedding plans or offers to help. When I confronted them about the trip, they tried to make excuses. My mom said they didn't tell me because they knew I was busy with work and didn't want me to feel bad. Jake said it was just a vacation and he'd pay me back. Lily accused me of being dramatic. The weeks after Christmas were a blur of grief and anger. I called in sick to work, unable to focus on client meetings while my world was falling apart. Tom was by my side, comforting me through the long, tear-filled nights. My phone was flooded with messages from my family. Mom asked me not to overreact. Dad said I was ruining the vacation for Mom. Jake told me to stop being selfish, and Lily said I was being cold-hearted. But none of them truly apologized for the lies and manipulation. In therapy, I started to see the pattern. My family was so used to me being the giver that they couldn't accept me setting boundaries. As January turned into February, they ramped up the pressure. Jake texted me asking for more money for rent, and when I refused, he sent a barrage of angry and guilt-tripping messages. My parents called, scolding me for not helping my brother. But I'd had enough. I told them that I was done being the family bank. I said I was open to a relationship based on mutual respect, but the financial support was over. As spring approached, the direct attacks from my family turned into more subtle manipulation. Mom sent pictures of family gatherings I wasn't invited to, with captions like, "Missing you." Jake forwarded job rejection emails, and Lily posted cryptic social media updates about hard times. But I held firm. With the support of Tom, my therapist, and my close friends, I focused on myself. I started saving more aggressively for our house, and my work performance improved as I wasn't constantly distracted by family drama. By August, the intensity of their backlash started to fade. Jake got a steady job at a local warehouse, and Lily found a part-time job at a photography studio while still studying at community college. My parents downsized their diner and started living more frugally. As summer turned to fall, I felt a sense of relief, mixed with grief. I was relieved that the constant drain on my finances and emotions had stopped, but I grieved for the family I'd always wanted but never really had. Now, as I stand here in this room, looking at my family's shocked faces, I know that this is a turning point. I've finally taken control of my life, and I'm not going back. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to protect your peace and self-worth? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below.